made the legs on this candy dish just like I did the garlic keepers I did on tall legs, except I added some decoration to the legs, some molded vine type decorations. When at the leather stage, I dipped it into my plain white slip. I'm using the slip as a filler for any blemishes that are on the piece, and also to blend in where I feathered in the pieces that I added on to make them more like part of the piece, brushing over where I was holding it or any pinholes that I see. You can see at this point it still has a few small pieces sticking out, bubbles and things that were sticking out in the piece before I put it in the slip. Just taking some simple carving tools and not only cleaning it up, but adding more detail, making the edges more crisp and removing any seams or lines that you can still see. Using a scuffing pad, these are really useful for smoothing out pieces. Part of the thing that I'm doing here is not just smoothing out, but exposing the clay underneath. And you'll notice that on the finished piece, and you'll notice that even more on the inside because the inside didn't have any slip decoration added to it. You'll see the colors and the fine grog and everything that's in the clay. It'll really stand out coming through the white slip. Cleaning up the piece with the carving tools does the same thing. Anywhere I'm scratching away, color underneath starts showing through. It's a really nice effect. A few of the colors were colors that I mixed from those combinations to give a little bit of highlight.
It might change colors as I go because it's picking up the other slip, the white, which is okay because I'm actually blending them together. You can see how I'm just kind of purposely making my brush strokes deep into the white slip.
Even though I'm being really careful with putting the different colors on, sometimes you have to do a little bit of touch-up. Now I'm starting to add my accent colors. I'm using the different color mostly on the edges and any rounded part. I kind of get a theme of where I'm putting it and then just stick to that the whole way through. Sometimes there are parts on the bottom that you think you would be able to get better when the piece is upside down, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you turn it right side up and you realize that it's a lot easier to get to them. I'm adding the third color now, and this is the lightest of the colors. And sometimes I will go back and put dark on top of that light too, if I really want to accent a piece or really show the shape of something. often I'll add the colors while the other color is still wet too, to get a little bit of blending, especially towards the tips. The last thing I'm doing in this piece is misting it with some water that has some manganese carbonate. You have to be very careful when you're misting a piece with water when it has slip, because you'll see little squiggly lines, and that is usually because the slip is actually lifting off of the piece. Also, adding too much slip will make the piece chip sometimes after it's fired. That's why my slip, you'll notice, is on the thin side. I would rather have it thin and have to add a couple applications than to put it on and have it too thick. It also helps when you're blending your colors like this with a brush to have a thinner slip.